Rafis, the host of Coach Connect Hub, and we're excited to have returning Dr. Stefan Zavalin. Stefan, you are the absolute master of social media and teaching us how to use it properly and without using so much of our time. Anyway, Stefan, thank you for returning to Coach Connect Hub, and I'm going to let you take it away, my friend.
Thank you, Sam. I am excited to be back. Especially, we specifically scheduled this for the end of January because it seems that about a month after all those New Year's resolutions, we start looking back and going, "Am I actually being as consistent with them?" And I know many people in business go, "I'm going to be on social media. Maybe I'm going to start making videos," whatever it might be. And consistency really is the key. So today, I really wanted to build off of the previous presentation. That was really much more about how do you create content? What ideas do you create? How do you make it feel like your own? Not just by slapping a logo on it, but by actually making people go, wow, this is content I connect with on a human level, and I want to work with this person specifically and make you very, very different. Today, we're going to be talking about how do we make sure you stay consistent throughout the entire year, because social media is a long-term game. This is not I'm going to post for a couple of weeks, go viral, and I'm a huge celebrity. That's unfortunately not how it works, even though a bunch of people try to sell you that. What we want to make sure is that you don't get into that place of where you're just posting to post, meaning you're just showing up to check the box of, I have social media for my business. We want to show up in a way that is authentic and human to our business and thus connecting to our audience. So how do we do that without completely burning out and still being able to run the business? That's what we're talking about today. And before we get into it, I'm going to give you the agenda of it all, of what we're going through. So first, we do need to talk about, is video really the most important thing? And why do I strive for video? Is it just because Stefan loves video, or does it actually work? The next part is we want to talk about some of those limitations. Why do people maybe miss out on the consistency they might have, or what's stopping people from continue on throughout the year? And we're going to mix that into the third point of the strategies. We're going to talk about some actual tools that you can use, but I'm going to tell you the pros and the cons of each tool. And some of those cons are big limitations for people of why they can't stay consistent, even though they're using some of those tools. Then before we get to the Q&A, I will actually tell you exactly how I do it and how I'm able to post to 5 platforms every single day with just taking 5 minutes a day to do it. I don't use schedulers. Sorry, spoiler alert, even though we're going to talk about schedulers, and I'll tell you exactly why I may not use them. But before we get into this, if this is your first time seeing me and going, who in the world is this? My name is Stefan. I have been doing video for over a decade. I love video. It's my favorite medium in terms of communication, just because unlike writing or anything like that, showing up as yourself is a little bit easier because you've technically been yourself your whole life, I hope, even though so many of us mask it. The other part is that makes me focus on videos that really connect us as human beings to each other, because if you do things exactly like everybody else, that makes you no different than them. And I believe that we should really show people that we are different, because every one of you is, especially as coaches, so different, and people should choose you because of who you are. And the last part is that you should absolutely know that I love purple. That should not be that much of a surprise given the unicorn talk we had beforehand. So let's get on into it. So the first part we have to ask is, does video actually matter on social media? Because you're already getting this feeling of, I'm going to tell you about video and this is mostly going to be video based. So does it actually matter? And really what you're asking me there is not does it matter, but does video work? And the answer is that 93% of businesses that have used video on social media have gotten clients from that. Now, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden, as soon as you make video, you're going to get a whole bunch of clients. It just means that the use of video seems to convert very well, right? And a lot of the businesses that are on social media are using video to convert. So great. We know that people are doing video and that video works on social media. But do people actually want more video? Because surely there's so many videos out there, so many people talking at us. Our audience doesn't want to hear more. That's way too much. Well, turns out that 86% of people actually do want more videos from their favorite brands. And every single one of us has a personal brand. And as a coach, that's even that much more important to have that personal brand of what makes you different from anybody else who does a similar thing to you, since nobody does exactly what you do. So this is the piece where, yes, people want to hear more from you. They absolutely do, if they actually like you and enjoy your brand. And so the final piece, we know that video works. We know people actually want more video. But in terms of for our ROI, does video actually work better? Or are we going to be better off doing a blog or a podcast or something else in terms of social media, at least? And it turns out that yes, video converts 34% better than other forms of content, which is why so many people are constantly pushing you, and you're hearing it all the time. You got to be on video. You got to make more videos, video, video, video. It does convert better. In my large opinion, it's because you can't convey all of those things in text format. You can't convey the person's face, the emotion that they're feeling, their tone of voice. It's a lot harder to convey in text. So we know that video is wanted, it works, and we should use it. But this is where consistency comes in. So why does consistency actually matter? And before I tell you, we're going to get into the reasons and some of those limitations around consistency, I want to bring up an example. This is Pruitt Witt. He's an insurance agent, and he's a client who's been doing videos for a while. And it took about 100 videos until he was starting to get clients a little bit more consistently, meaning that he would post and maybe every week or so he would get one, maybe two leads that would turn into clients. Now, there's a twofold lesson here. One, it takes time. It takes a long time. If you're posting one video a week and you're going for those 100 videos, it's going to take you close to 2 years until you're going to see something. That's why consistency is so important. But the second piece is he got better. When he started off, his first video was laughable. And luckily, he has got a very, very good kind of sense of humor at it. Like, he laughs about it too. And then you see the transformation at the end, and he's just gotten a much better speaker. And that's just because he kept doing it, kept doing it, kept doing it. Not necessarily because of extra speaking classes or anything like that. So I just really want to urge you with that idea. It takes time, and consistency is the important thing. So here are the 3 reasons why consistency really matters. And we're also going to get into some of the limitations that people have within these reasons. So the first one is only about 10% of your followers actually see your post. So everybody talks about how many followers they have on social media. Great. Only when you post, about 10% of them will see it. You have some of those super fans that will see a large majority of your posts because the algorithm pushes it to them, but generally only about 10% see it. That means that if you are afraid of posting 5 times a week, really you're only reaching 50% of the people that generally follow you. And that's kind of important to think about in that regard. You are not badgering people with your content the way you would with, say, email marketing. Because if people scroll past your stuff and don't watch your stuff, very quickly the algorithm stops showing you their stuff, or them your stuff. So if your content is bad, again, go back to the first part. We talk about how to make content that really is more engaging and actually gets you across. Then people won't watch it, so you're definitely not badgering people. But if you're truly creating good content, you need to be consistent all the way through. So the second reason, and this is more of a sales kind of approach to this, is that prospects require multiple touch points, right, before they actually buy. And this is not to make it sleazy. This is to make it realistic. We don't buy from meeting a person once. We are more interested to engage after a series of interactions. This allows you to have a series of interactions because we can't be everywhere. We can't have 8 one-on-one meetings with a person every single time. But some people, from seeing us and connecting to us on that human level the way video allows us to do, they're much more likely to go, okay, yeah, that's right. I remember that person really made me feel like they connected and understood my problem. Maybe I need to think about working with them again. Video allows you to do that a whole lot more than just some text. You get that human emotional connection. And the final part, and this kind of piggybacks off this idea that we need to have multiple interactions with people, is honestly, you're not as memorable as you think. I'm lucky that I dressed up as a unicorn on the last one, and that's what people remembered. But unfortunately, so many of us, we're not as memorable as we think. And I think that's very much highlighted by networking events. We give our 30-second or 60-second spiel, and we think the entire audience knows exactly what we do. And that's not true. because, as my mother loves to say, don't think about yourself too much. Nobody does. Most people are thinking about themselves and not you. And so with the use of social media, with the use of video, you are just becoming a little bit more memorable and a little bit more memorable. And this is why consistency matters, because if you were to do one post a week for a year, that is going to make you a little more memorable because you're showing up the entire year, as opposed to if you did 52 posts in a month. Not going to be, you'll be memorable for that 1 month, but then people are going to forget you after a couple of months because it fades. It fades very quickly. So we understand that video is good. We know consistency is going to matter to make sure that people see us and are able to remember us, and we can actually provide value and help the people that need our help. But how do we stay consistent? So let's get into some of these consistency strategies to help you maintain it and not completely burn out and think, oh my goodness, I have to make content again. This is just, ugh. So the first one, it's not going to surprise you, is a content calendar. And that's creating a plan for future content. I'm not going to tell you how to create a content calendar because you can easily Google, YouTube, ChatGPT it. There's plenty of options out there of people that have created it, even just for coaches. That's not the hard part. And that's not what I'm going to talk about with content calendars. I'm going to tell you the pros and the cons of content calendars. For the slew of these strategies, we're going to use the example that, let's say you wanted to post 3 videos a week for a month. So you're going to need 12 videos throughout the course of the month. For the content calendar, you're going to sit down and create the ideas for these 12 videos that you're going to need for the month. Here are the pros of that. 1, you're going to get out of the weeds. You're all of a sudden going to go, okay, I know I'm posting about all of these various topics. I don't really have to focus on what's going on right now. Oh no, I can't remember. I'm too busy. It really elevates you out of that state so you can focus on what's going on ahead. The second part is it saves you a whole lot of time, because then each time you need to film a video, you're not going, oh, what am I going to talk about this time? I'm not sure. I guess I could talk about, and no, you already know exactly what's going on. It's a big time saver. However, with all of this, here's the biggest con that I see. Most people make content calendars, but don't make any content. And then they make another content calendar, and they still don't make any content. And again, and again, and again. If you don't like content calendars and you just want to make a video a week, you're going to be so much better off than just making content calendars and no videos at all. So if you do it, make sure it's something that you can actually execute. And sometimes I even tell people, do the action first. Make some videos for a couple of weeks, then make a content calendar, because you know you can already take the action. As opposed to most people, they try to plan it out and then the action never happens. But let's move on ahead, and let's say you did make a content calendar, or you are just a huge idea generator and you're going to move forward with it. The next strategy is batching your content, meaning creating lots of content at one time, as opposed to creating each post individually on the day that you actually need it. And the way I have these strategies here is, if you add them together in this order, that's what really creates the easy consistency where you're not spending a lot of time or a lot of energy on all of this. So with batching content, it would mean that you would take an hour or 2 out of maybe your weekend or your month, and you would record all the 12 videos. In this example that we're talking about 12, you would record the 12 videos. All right. Here are the pros of that. They're twofold. 1 is time. It saves you so much time to film all of it at once. The other part is what I call the safe zone. And this is more noticeable for people that especially might batch a little bit, and they'll do a pattern something like this. So you have to do 3 videos a week in this example. You record on Sundays, you make 3 videos, and then you post Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Sunday, you record 3 more videos, you post them again. Next Sunday, you record, you post, and then something happens. Life happens. All of a sudden, there's an emergency, a family event, whatever it might be. You don't get to record the 3 videos on Sunday. Throughout the course of the week, you maybe eke out 1 video. You're not sure. You try, you overthink it. That following weekend, you're still burnt out trying to catch up from last week. You also don't record. Maybe you eke out another 1 or 2 videos the following week. You're now already quite a bit behind. With batching, imagine even if you did the same solution but did 4 videos every Sunday, by the time that 4th week ran around, you already have 3 extra videos. And if you batched all 12 at the beginning of the month, life can happen wherever you want. You have that safety zone of content ready to go. This is where batching is very, very important and very helpful. However, there are cons. One of the cons, again, is time. It's going to take you a lot more time in the moment. You're going to have to sit down and create multiple videos, and it might take you 2 hours to create 12 videos with the editing, maybe even more, 3 hours at one time. Versus if you were to create a video on the day that you're posting it, maybe it'll only take you 20 or 30 minutes at that given time. It is way more time in total throughout the entire month, but in a given moment, if you're having a really difficult time finding 2 or 3 hours to yourself to do it, that is a con. That's understandable. The other part is it looks kind of the same. When you batch videos, you're usually wearing the same kind of clothes, you're in the same environment, the lighting's the same time of day, same energy. Things look the same. I don't think this is too much of a con, because what I like to say is if people are worried about the fact that you're wearing the same shirt, it means that your content sucks. It means you're not providing enough value for people to listen to the words you're saying and what you're discussing. So that's not as much of a worry, but it's a realistic con, because then all of your content looks very, very similar. And if you're really trying to add diversity and vibrance to it, then batching may have to be something that you split up across different days, or you have to sprinkle in content that is also just filmed throughout the week. But when people are starting out and trying to just be consistent, this is not a big con. Mostly, batching your content is absolutely the way to go. So you've got the content calendar. You're batching your stuff. You know exactly what to do. You're ready. But what about scheduling your posts? What about that time throughout the week where, oh, yeah, I forgot to post today. I know I need to put in all the description, the hashtags, all these things. Which, by the way, if you're going, I don't know how to do hashtags and descriptions, we discussed that in part 1. You can go back and rewatch that video as well. Here's the deal with scheduling your posts. There are 2 ways that you could do it. One is you can schedule using a third-party scheduler, and third-party schedulers allow you to just put it into that specific service, and they will throw it out to all the other platforms, right? Very easy, very, very convenient. The other way is all of these platforms have their own scheduling types. And I recommend that if you are only on 1 or 2 platforms, so for example, if you're just on Facebook and Instagram, Meta has its own scheduler that you can use. And that is much, much better. We're going to talk about some of the pros and the cons. The native schedulers, good to go. We'll talk about the cons of the third-party schedulers that go across all the platforms here in a second. But with scheduling, when you combine scheduling with your content calendar and the batching, you can set yourself up at the beginning of the month to have all your content go. So let's talk about the pros. The pros of scheduling. You get to sit back and relax for the whole month or the week, whenever you decide to schedule it. You really do get to relax. The other amazing thing is it really opens up this ability for more time for you to watch what other people are doing and engage and interact with people. You get to actually be social on social media, which so many of us forget to do. We just post stuff and then run away, and we're not really getting to be social on social media, right? And that's half of the compound word is social. But this brings us to the point of the con, and that's what I really try to push people away from schedulers for this big reason. When you use a third-party scheduler, especially, the views on videos drastically decrease. In my personal testing, I've seen as little as 10%, meaning that if I would get 200 views on a video normally, using a third-party scheduler, I would only get 20 views. And things like Canva, for example, if that's what you're thinking, Canva can't even post videos, scheduling videos itself well at all. So that's a huge, huge con. If you're using the native one, say you're using the one that's built into LinkedIn or into YouTube, that's fine. Just realize that if you're having to go across multiple platforms, that means you have to use multiple schedulers. And that's sort of the con of doing it that way. But it is still very doable. You can take extra time at the beginning of the month and plan it all out. So let's get to the final piece, which is the final kind of part of the strategy, and that is creating engaging content. And you might go, why do I need to create engaging content? The rule is kind of simple here. If you're not having fun doing it, they're not going to have fun watching it. And if you don't have fun doing it, burnout comes that much easier. When you're just putting out content to be part of the hamster wheel and you're not actually engaged with what you want to be putting out there, educating people on, it's that much more important for us because we don't want that burnout. There's another part, I'm not going to go into it entirely. I talk about the give, give, give mentality, because when you're thinking, I mean, give, give, give in terms of your content. You give them a reason to watch, you give them a reason to care, and then you give them an action to take. The reason I say that is when you come across with the giving side of things, if nobody watches your video, the reality is they're missing out. You gave them a bunch of value. But if you're going into it thinking, I'm going to get a bunch of views, a bunch of likes, a bunch of clients, and you don't get any views, now it's on you. Now you've done something bad. You suck. You're not good enough. That is just going to throw you right into that burnout very, very quickly and not going to keep you consistent. That's why creating engaging content keeps you entertained and actually feeling like, my goodness, I'm giving such value to all of these people. But let's talk about the pros and the cons, because I told you each one of these, there's pros and the cons. The pros, of course, are more people are going to see it. More people are going to be interested. They're going to want to look in when you're creating engaging content. And engaging, again, go back to the first video, we discussed that there as well, is this idea that you're giving them an action to take. The action is not always, get a call with me, hire me. Sometimes it might be, figure out your limiting beliefs. Or mine that I love doing a lot of the times is, go make a video. You got this. Let's make videos together. Whatever it might be, it's not always to sell, but to have them take an action that is of value to their life in the industry that you're in. But here are the cons. And the cons are difficult, and I understand. It takes a whole lot more time, and it takes a lot of ideas to be able to actually consistently generate engaging content and interesting things that are relevant. We're going to dive right now, this next part, into my flow of things. And you'll see a couple of things in there, how I make sure that this doesn't take too much time out of me. I don't use ChatGPT for this stuff, by the way. That's not how I get ideas for all of it. But I just want it to be realistic. If you feel that the time commitment is too much and you're not feeling completely torn down by the fact that your content isn't super edited and all this kind of stuff, which is fine. That's perfectly fine. Don't think that it's not. Good. I'm just saying that if you're getting burnt out because you feel that you're in a hamster wheel and just checking off a box, creating content you truly care about can be a great way to keep you consistent. With all of that, we're almost to the questions, and I know there's going to be a bunch about it, but let's talk about how I actually do it in 5 minutes. So this is how I'm able to post to 5 platforms in 5 minutes, and I do not use a scheduler. I will say the first part, batching 2 or 3 weeks worth of content. And I try to post 7 days a week, by the way. So this is not even 3 videos. This is 7 videos a week, meaning I'm usually filming 20 to 30 videos at any time. That and the editing does not take me 5 minutes. I'm going to be completely honest with you there. That does usually take me 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours to be able to do that. That's true. The step 2, that is a one-time step, meaning I've created a description that generally explains what I do, what my business is about, and the outcome that I want people to receive. What I do when I post or when I write up my posts and I upload is the description. The first 1 or 2 sentences are unique to the post. They generally just talk about what I just said in the video, or maybe a funny little commentary on something that I said. After that, I paste in that step 2 description that I put in there. So that's very easy, makes it nice and simple. And it usually has a couple of hashtags that I always use that are already there. And I add 2 or 3 additional hashtags. Again, if you need a refresher on hashtags, go back to part 1. I then take this and I copy the description, the one that I just made up for this specific video. So before I actually post it on TikTok, I just choose to use TikTok because I find that it's a little bit easier. You can do the exact same thing on Instagram if you're against TikTok. You can do the same exact process. I download the video before I actually post it. And then I copy and paste that final post description that I've already have the 2 extra sentences at the top and all the extra hashtags that I wanted to put in there. And after that, I post it onto TikTok and I just copy and paste across to the other platforms. The only one it changes for is YouTube. When you do YouTube Shorts, that's a little bit different. You type in a 1 quick sentence description, and again, those little hashtags, and that's it. So that for me, if I already have all of these things, and I usually have them the way after I batch it, I have it pre-saved in TikTok drafts. A lot of these videos, as soon as I go, I open up the draft, I download the video, I copy the description, post, and then copy paste across all the other platforms. It honestly takes me 5 minutes to do that, right? And I'm able to do that without any specific schedulers, any high-tech stuff, very simply, very easily. If you're on less platforms, that makes it that much easier for you. So once you do all of that, you just get to sit back and reap the rewards, because then people engage with your content, interact with it, and you can interact back with them as you see fit, right? And again, it takes time. I recently had a video that I was completely surprised that got 8.5 million views, right? And it's not something that you would have thought that would actually get you those views. The goal isn't to go viral, but it's the point that even if you're making, I have over 1,000 videos that I posted, right? Definitely not all of them are high views like that. But that's the reality about consistency, is that if you keep going and you keep going, the only way it doesn't work is if you quit. So with that, we can take it away to questions, but if you need any other information, just go to stefanzavalin.com and there's plenty of this information there, or just follow me on any of the socials, stefan.zavalin. I am on all of them, as I already said, because I gave you my plan. So yeah, let's open it up to questions.